So, Anthony, how are you doing, sir? You doing all right?
I'm doing well. Ready for the weekend. Ready for my last free weekend before media day on Monday. So I'm
All
gonna try
right.
to enjoy it.
So, if you have leverage and you have information and you can basically blackmail if you want, you can maybe even control your destiny, but you choose not to, and you're Damian Lillard. Because, I don't know, 3 months ago or 2 months ago, if you wanted to walk into Joe Cronin's office, whether they wanted you in the building or not, you walk into the office and you tell him, "Hey, Joe, I need to go to Miami." And he's going to say, "Well, no, we're not trading it." Well, guess what? I am going to go on ESPN this afternoon with Chris Haynes, and we're going to talk about how you held me out for 10 games and how you told me that you were going to trade for a veteran, but you chose not to, and you drafted somebody that's going to replace me. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to tell you right here now what I'm going to say in public. I'm not playing for anybody but the Miami Heat. So you can call anybody you want around the league. I don't care. I'm tired of you. I'm tired of your act. I'm tired of this organization, and I am moving on. So don't even try to call anybody else. If you want to call the Miami Heat, you can do that. But I am going to ESPN right now. Why didn't he do that?
Well, we've said it this entire time, right? That the one thing that would change everything was if Damian Lillard softened his stance.
No,
And
no,
that
harden his stance.
well, I'm saying if he softened his stance, it would hurt the Heat. The
Oh,
Heat
I see.
the Heat were the front runner, right? They had the
Yes,
leverage. The
yes.
one thing that was gonna change the dynamic and what we all thought was gonna happen was if Damian Lillard said, you know what, I'll go to another. I'll go to these two teams as well, and that's kind of what happened, right? And another thing we said is Damian
Well, it
Lillard is
wasn't. No, it wasn't like that initially. According to Chris Haynes, he said, "Oh, if you're not trading Miami, I want to stay here."
exactly
That's
right.
all he said.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Damian Lillard is a decent human being, a very nice person, right?
Yes.
And unfortunately,
No, no,
the
no
cle-
balls,
the,
bro. You
cle-
gotta fight. You gotta fight for yourself, bro.
the cliche is nice guys finish last, right? And
That's right.
in this case, he didn't finish last. He's going to a really good team, right?
Yeah.
The odds-on favorite to win the NBA championship. So it's not like he's been traded to some team that's going to struggle to win 40 games. They're going to be a really really good team, but he wanted to make it messy, but to a certain extent. And once Portland said we're not, they basically said we're not trading you to Miami. He said, well, I'm not going to stretch this any further. I want to at least be able to pick the team I want to go to. He gave them two more teams, and that's how it happened. So unfortunately, Portland did not want to deal with Miami. The Heat found the superstar that wanted to go to Miami, but they didn't find the GM that wanted to trade him to Miami. It was
Yeah.
a tough situation for the Heat.
So they found the superstar that didn't have the super balls to actually make it happen, basically. And that's why I found it unfair people blaming Riley because Riley could take the hardline stance because he was counting on the other side playing
Right.
the
To
same hard
cooperate.
line. Right. And then if you both did the same thing, you both played the hard line, then you were going to end up, on top. And unfortunately, one guy gave in Jesus. It just
This is how toxic the Heat went, and this is the impression the Heat was left with. Okay, just from talking to different people. The two teams spoke in July, well documented, right after Damian Lillard made his trade request July 1st. Portland and the Heat spoke. Portland asked for Bam Adebayo. The Heat said, "What? Bam Adebayo? That's why Damian Lillard wants to come to the Heat." Bam Adebayo. From there, talks stalled. Talks were quiet for the last 2 months. There was very limited contact. Portland's stance was, well, if you're going to keep Jimmy and Bam, then we pretty much want every asset you have to get Damian Lillard. We want Tyler Hero, we want your picks, we want your young guys. And the Heat said, and the Heat were basically like, look, we want Damian Lillard, but we're not going to gut the roster. Like you and I talked about earlier this
right.
week ago, you need to have a win now roster if you trade for Damian Lillard. You can't just have Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, and Damian Lillard and then a bunch of minimum guys. That just doesn't work. So talks really never went far between the Heat and Portland.
Yeah. No, obviously. Hell, they hadn't talked since the summer league.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
And that was like a half-assed thing that was set up and really never followed completely through.
Yeah, pretty
Right.
much. It was communication was not good between the two sides. I think the Heat remained hopeful, right? That it could, maybe Portland closer to training camp would cooperate a little bit more. Never happened. Obviously, things got uglier than we even thought between Damian Lillard and Portland, based on Chris Haynes' article that was published last night. They weren't even communicating with Damian Lillard, right? Portland wasn't communicating with Damian Lillard or his agent.
No, yeah,
It's
early
just
September they cut him out.
for 3 weeks. It's just a very, very strange situation. And yeah, unfortunately for the Heat, it just didn't work out for them.
Okay, so is the NBA now going to investigate them and strip them of several first-round picks? Because if Miami can lose one for their tampering, I would imagine making a player sit out that's healthy for 10 games to get a
Yeah.
better lottery spot. That's multiple picks, bro.
I would imagine. I mean, I don't think they've announced this yet, but I would imagine after seeing that and how sensitive the league is to that stuff, there has to be some type of investigation open on that. I would imagine. I don't know this. There's not reporting, but the league, Adam Silver, is very sensitive to tanking. We've seen the new rules they put into place, the play-in tournament, all this to kind of dissuade teams from tanking. Um, there were a lot of like eye-opening things, that shocking things that I read in that story, but the one of the paragraphs that really stood out was they basically told Damian Lillard, just say you have a calf injury, so we could get a better lottery position. So yeah, I'm sure the league is going to take a look into that.
I would imagine that they have to
Yeah.
do that. All right. Any other moves you expecting them to try to make, or what's the deal? Because do I have to deal with Kyle Lowry for the whole season?
I don't know for the whole season, but it looks like you might have to deal with him for the start of the season.
Jeez.
Look, I mean, as of now, I don't think anything is close, right? To like them adding a veteran. We have talked about Goran. From what I hear, that's unlikely. I don't think Goran is going to be back with the Heat. Um, Drew Holiday is a name, right? That's out there, but could we see Miami and Portland really dealing with each other right now on a trade? Hard to imagine, but I guess business is business, right? And I don't think you can rule out Drew Holiday. I just don't know if the Heat has the assets to get that done, considering Portland doesn't really think highly of the Heat's assets, apparently. James Harden, the Heat are not going to go after James Harden. So
Oh
this
God.
might be the roster right now. For now, this might be it. 21. They have 21 players. They're at the preseason maximum. Going to camp with these guys. You need to add a 14th guy to a standard contract. If they don't add a veteran or trade for somebody, they're going to hope that one of the young guys on a two-way or an Exhibit 10 emerges and makes the Heat give them that 14th roster spot. So it'll be kind of a little bit competition in camp for that. But we'll see. You just never know with the Heat. And Buddy Hield is another name, right, that people have floated around.
Yes. Yeah.
I have. They've had interest in Buddy in the past. I don't, as of yesterday or as of 2 days ago, they had not registered interest in him yet. So it just seems like, unless something changes in the next few days, it seems like they're going to go into camp with this group and then maybe see just how it plays out from there.
Okay. All right. That's kind of funky, man. Everything has kind of ended up working out here, unfortunately, for the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
And it kind of, the sad part is for the fan base, it kind of takes the wind out of the sails because now you're hoping for another overachieving year. Because let's be quite honest, that's what you've done for 4 years.
Right.
You've overachieved. Now, the one thing I will say, Anthony, that I heard this bullshit a lot 4 years ago, and now we're 5 years into it. I heard, well, no, it won't be a problem to recruit that second star, or Jimmy Butler, we'll be able to recruit that second star. Well, neither one happened.
Yeah.
We're now 5 years. Now we're going into year 5 of Jimmy, and they did not get that second star, and that's what we all knew that you kind of really
Yeah.
needed in order to get that, to have a legit shot at a championship. And that's the one thing that I can't be critical of the trade that didn't happen with Riley. I never was, because I blamed it all on Lillard more than anything else. But I can blame Riley and I can blame Butler that they have failed to bring that second star 5 years in.
Don't scream at me, but Kyle Lowry was supposed to be that guy a
No,
couple of years
well,
ago.
hey, listen. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe you thought that shit.
No, I know, but I'm
Okay,
joking.
okay,
I'm joking with you. But
okay, no, because I thoroughly ripped the Heat for making that move.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, yeah, I never accepted that move. That was one of the class A dumb moves that they've ever made in their lives. I mean, that goes right up there with I don't know, the drafting of what was that European kid?
I know
Uh,
you're talking about I would know this because he covered him, but I off the top of my head I can't. It's the only other European player they've drafted other than Jovic.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
I
yeah,
covered it too, bro.
yeah,
It's like whatever, but you know
yeah,
that's the kind of move that you made, right? Or signing Dion Waiters, knowing he needs surgery. That was
right.
also a classic,
The ankle surgery.
really stupid move. That was so unheat like. Like a Heat team normally was, oh, you need surgery? Oh, no problem. We'll check back with you next year, okay? Or
Yeah,
we'll sign you to a minimum deal, and then you can rehab, and then we'll talk about next year or something. You
yeah,
know, that's what the Heat would have done. But that to me, that's my criticism. That's my
sure,
only
and
criticism.
that's fair. That's
And by
fair.
the way, that was an open criticism of Jimmy Butler when he got here. Can he get somebody to come here to play with him?
Yeah,
And he's not the recruiter either, by the way.
I mean, the counterpoint to that is Damian Lillard wanted to be here, right? It didn't happen. I know he's off in his stance. He opened it up to other teams, but Damian Lillard wanted to be here.
But it
Kevin
wasn't
Durant,
it wasn't Butler.
right? It was
It
Bam.
was Bam.
But I think Jimmy still plays an indirect role, right? Because he's the
Sure.
one that led him to the finals. Like you've
Right.
seen all the success that Heat has had. If Jimmy's not here and they're a first round exit, does Damian Lillard want to come still
No,
because of Bam? I don't. Probably
no.
not. Kevin Durant wanted to come here, right? The Suns and the Heat were the two. So stars want to come here. The deal just isn't happening, right? Like two of the biggest stars that have come in the market, Bradley Beal, another one, had interest in coming to the Heat. Um, so it's not a matter of stars not wanting to come. It's just a matter of the deals just not getting done.
Well,
Once the
that's part of
second
the
part of
game.
it, yeah, the second part of it, right? Not closing the deal,
Yeah.
or maybe just not having the assets, right, to close a deal. That's the
Yeah,
other
and
part of it.
that's also they have done a really bad job of mishandling their assets in the last 10 years that have kind of put them in this position at times. And let me tell you, I still can't get over the fact that Bosch and LeBron, because they wanted to keep their bird rights. No, 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 no. Trade first rounders for him. It's like, yo, morons, he can use those first rounders to help you guys out
Yeah,
instead. And because you wanted your bird rights, the things like that at times just piss me off, dude. You know,
yeah, that was something that I think upset the Heat too after the fact because they got that extra year in the contract and then they ended up just opting out anyway. So it
right.
was kind of you didn't need to do that, but at the time, obviously a player wants the extra year just in case. You never know, if if you get injured or something like that. So yeah, that was unfortunate. But yeah, it's look like you said, not everything is in the Heat's control.
No,
That I'm not taking the blame away from them, the 100%, but they're in the game for these guys. They're one
yeah,
of the final two, final three teams consistently.
yeah, yeah. No,
Unfortunately, they haven't gotten it done in a couple years now.
yeah, no, and listen, they've done a phenomenal job. They still put together one hell of a team. They've gotten to the finals, gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals a bunch. Even with teams that I think most coaches would have never gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals or Finals with the same bunch. So Spo has been second to none. There's no doubt, and I'm not blaming him at all for this Lillard situation, but I do have to lay the blame on Jimmy and on Riley for 5 years now, dude. You have
Right.
struck out for 5 straight years and not getting. And the other thing I blame Jimmy and Riley is that you screwed yourself by adding what's it called, the Kyle
Kyle.
Lowry, because that
Yeah.
30 million now, you could have stayed liquid and keep that 30 million so you can keep it just in case somebody else becomes available. So that's the other thing. It's just a real shame, man, because you know that they're good enough that if they had that one other
Oh yeah.
star, brother, they could have shocked somebody.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, they've even without that other star, they've come what they came 3 wins away from winning the championship last year. Like they were this close without Tyler Hero, by the way. I know that's another conversation, but without arguably their third best player, they got to the NBA Finals, and we're 3 wins away from a championship. So it's like you said, overachieving. You call it whatever you want. They've been to the finals 2 of the last 4 years, Eastern Conference Finals 3 of the last 4 years. And yes, does Milwaukee look like the best team in the East right now on paper? Yeah, they do. Um,
right?
but the Heat have surprised us the last few years. So I've learned that you can't count the Heat out ever
No, no, no. I'm
because
not. I'm not
they
counting them.
always find a way to make to surpass expectations somehow.
I'm not counting them out. I'm expecting them to have a good year. It's hard for me to expect a
Yeah,
championship.
I
That's
think
the
it's
part that,
and it's like you said, it's like the letdown, right? Because everyone expected Damian Lillard in a Heat uniform. Everyone was just ready for that. Even the guy said it. Unfortunately, I was wrong. You could put on freezing cold takes, but a bunch of us said it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Like it's gonna happen. Damian Lillard will be a member of the Heat, and unfortunately, it just didn't come to be. And I think this close to the season, for that disappointment to happen, yeah, it's gonna take the wind out of the sails of fans who were expecting something big, and pretty much the Heat brought back a big part of last year's roster, kind of quote unquote running it back with just a few new faces, but this is pretty much the same team as last year.
yeah, no, it is, and you're hoping that you improve from within, which is Jovic and
Yeah,
Akes adding
Akez, yeah,
something, and Caleb also taking
and and
another
and
step.
and Tyler and Bam continuing to try to improve. Tyler's still 22, right? So that's the hope. How much more can you expect that growth, right, year over year,
Can,
um,
I just want Tyler not to be Tua.
to be healthy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
How about
that's it.
how
I don't
about
want him to
Tyler
be
though?
injury prone.
Yeah. How about
That's my problem with Tyler. It's not really his play. I know who he is already as a player, but his problem is, bro, you can't stay healthy. You're
right,
unreliable. That's
right,
his problem right there. So you can't have that Tua thing on you that you're like, because Tua has to carry this shit now for years until he's for years out on the field and barely misses anything.
right?
Then
Proving
people will
otherwise.
leave,
Yeah.
yeah, then people will leave Tua alone. But for now, he's got to carry it. And for me, it's the same thing with the way I look at the kid. He never stays healthy. He's unreliable. He breaks down all the time, dude. It's a shame.
How
It is,
about Tyler?
and you've made the two runs the last 2 years without him. You don't even need
Right,
him.
right. How about Tyler? I mean, this is not saying it's that we should feel sorry for him. He's a very wealthy guy, has what if is playing in the NBA, but he's dealt with this now every offseason. And you see him making jokes about it yesterday on Twitter. I think the way he's taken all this is encouraging, right? And we'll talk to him on Monday at media day. But this has not been easy to go through every summer, having to deal with your name and rumors.
Right.
Um, and he's joking about it on social media. So I think the maturity he's shown through this is a good sign that he understands this is the business, and he understands. Look, if Damian Lillard is available, if I'm going to be mentioned in trade rumors, that's a guy I want to be in trade rumors with because
Right.
he's a Hall of Famer. And same thing,
Let,
Kevin
let,
Durant last year. Kevin Durant last year was the same thing.
just look at that franchise. Glenn Rice was gone
Yeah,
for Alonzo Mourning.
yeah,
And Karam Butler and Lamar Odom were
for
gone for
Shaq.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah,
They're going to move you. But I think for Tyler, what you have to do, young man, is make yourself irreplaceable
mm-hmm.
and stay on the court and kick some serious ass to a point where, like, oh, we can't get rid of this kid. And that's what you haven't done. And that's why your name is always going to be mentioned because you have not done. In fact, you have been so unconvincing that nobody else wanted you. So you wake up, all right?
Yeah.
Making your money and all that. You weren't even a sexy trade offer. In fact, you are part of the problem why that trade didn't happen. So if Tyler wants to get mad at anyone, get mad at yourself, not at the situation. You've put yourself in that situation.
I think the motivation will definitely be there
I hope
this
so.
year. I
I hope
think the
so.
motivation will definitely be there. And that again, that's an intangible. It can only take somebody so far. But look, he was like you said, he was dragged through the mud this offseason. Whether you agree with it or not, like Tyler's not worth this. He's not that good. He's not a good asset. Um, Portland doesn't want him. Like he's had to hear that all summer.
Nobody
Um,
wanted.
well, there are some teams reportedly Brooklyn who are interested. That would willing to give up a pick or something. So there's Utah, I think, was reportedly interested. There are a
Oh yeah,
few teams,
yeah,
but
yeah,
but for the most part, yeah, like he's had to hear that noise for the last few months.
yeah.
So yeah, it'll be. I'm really interested to see what he has to say at media day again because he hasn't spoken to the media since his injury last year, since the first round of the playoffs. And we have a lot to ask him. So I'm really, and he's usually really thoughtful with his answers. So that's something to look out for next week.
He's a good kid, man. He's a good kid. You just gotta get it going and be that guy, and hopefully he won't have to deal with these off seasons anymore. Follow him on Twitter at Anthony_Chiang. What are you working on in the Herald, sir? So folks can check you out.
Yeah, now that the Damian Lillard saga is over, we're writing about actual basketball again. I have a Q&A with Jaime Jaquez up today to kind of preview another preview story for camp next week, and tomorrow I'll have another Q&A up with another player, and then probably questions entering camp, different questions surrounding the team now that we kind of know what the roster is going to be. So just a bunch of preview stuff coming up this weekend. No days off. We're at the time of the year where there's content every day pretty much. And then we'll have you covered from all angles on Media Day on Monday from the Kasaya Center.
It's a beautiful thing. Have a great weekend, my friend. Follow him on Twitter, Anthony_Chiang. We will catch up on Tuesday. You be good out there.
Enjoy Vegas, Big O. Enjoy the concert.
You know it. Tonight, baby. We'll be rocking. Be good.
See you.
You got it. Yeah, baby. That is our BaptistHealth.net/ortho Miami Heat report. And don't forget, folks, you don't need to be a professional athlete to go where the pros go. The doctors at Baptist Health Orthopedic Care can see you now. Visit BaptistHealth.net/ortho to request an appointment and get yourself back in the game.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.